Hey guys, welcome. Happy New Year. Welcome to my channel. My name's Lisa, also known as Fiber Nymph, and today is Thursday, January 9th. I got this in before the double digits of January, so I feel like it's okay to say Happy New Year still. We've got lots of snow outside. It is quite cold today. I actually recorded just a little clip when I went out to the porch room to grab my tripod because I hadn't actually been out there to look out on our deck in a day or two, and the snow on the table, and there's a little drift, and it's interesting. Yeah, I had to take about well over a foot of snow off my car the other day to go out to an appointment. So we are definitely getting winter this year. How about you? How are you guys doing? I know if you're out in California, in certain areas, you've got a lot going on that has nothing to do with snow. Thinking about you guys. Yeah, crazy times. Anyway, I'm glad you're here if you're here, and I hope this will be a little respite from anything else that is going on for you. I am going to talk about a bunch of things today, actually, and I hope I can keep it moving along so it's not too long. But I do have my basic announcements to let you know. Show notes will be in the drop-down menu below with timestamps and links to the projects that I talk about. I put links both in the Ravelry group and in my blog on my fibernymphdyeworks website. Everything is linked below, though. You can find all of those things. I do also have a membership here on the YouTube channel if you want a little bit of extra monthly content. And what else? Oh, we have a Facebook group, which usually just gets the same thing as what I post to the Fiber Nymph Dyeworks Instagram feed. So any of those places, you can find me. I have some more specific announcements. I already said Happy New Year. That was at the top of my list. I wanted to remind you, if you are taking part in the Down Cellar Studio Pigskin Party event, Fiber Nymph Dyeworks is the January sponsor for the challenge, which is called the Small Gains Challenge. So all you have to do is make something using yardage between 50 and 100 grams. And that project will count for those extra points. If you make it using Fiber Nymph Dyeworks yarn, then you get even more points. So there is that. I will also point out that if you follow the Down Cellar Studio, Jen, who is the one who runs that, her mom did pass away on New Year's Day. She's been battling cancer for several years, and she made it through the holiday season with everyone around her, which was such a joy to watch on Jen's Vlogmas videos. But yeah, they lost her, so my heart goes out to Jen and her family. Really thankful for the chance to get to know Diane through Jen's videos all these years, though, and I did get to meet her in person once at least, at some event that we were all at. So anyway, that wasn't really a planned announcement, but I thought since I was mentioning Down Cellar Studio, I should add that. Another announcement that I'm sort of making, it's sort of a teaser announcement, because I cannot tell you the absolute details yet, but I am taking part in a year-long collaboration with Steph from Adorn It and Sarah from Imagine Landscapes, the gnome lady. We are working together to do 4 seasonal kits, and the first of which will be coming out next week on January 16th. All of the kits are going to be available through Steph's website, not on my website. So if you are not already signed up for Steph's newsletter or her social media, I would highly suggest you do that. I will put links to the information that I can share with you in the show notes below, both in Steph's shop, and if you follow Sarah already and you're on her newsletter, you would have already gotten her first January newsletter, where she sent out about it was an information PDF for the Year of Gnomes for this year, her project, and there's some information about our collaboration in there as well. So I'm super excited about it, and I hope you will be too, if gnomes are your thing and you like to take part in her events. So just going to tease that out to you. I will also sort of tease out to you my club for 2025. I've only been doing one club a year the last couple of years, I think. So I'm going to say it's the 2025 club. It may go a second round. Not promising that yet, but it's going to be called the Warm Hug Club. And I had hoped to have stuff out about that this week. I'm not sure that it's going to get out before the end of this week. It may be next week, but you can be watching for that. That will be a yarn and fiber club. I've got a couple of interesting additions to that. So once I work out those final details, I will send out a newsletter about that. So be on the lookout for that if you are interested in a new club. Other than that, the 2025 make along for our podcast and the fibernymphdyeworks group in general has started as of January 1st. It's the Choose Your Own Adventure make along, and we've already got a good bit of chatter going in the Ravelry group, so you can see everything there. There's a chatter thread, which is also going to be our finished object thread. There's a fibernymphdyeworks component to that make along this year as well, so there's a separate thread for those finished objects, and there's an optional planning thread if you would like to do your planning there. I will, again, all that will be linked in the show notes below. I also have everything up on my blog on the fibernymphdyeworks website if you can't access Ravelry, and you can take part by using the hashtag on Instagram if you cannot post to Ravelry. So lots of options for participating. It's again a very loose, general kind of guidelines sort of make along. The fibernymphdyeworks component does have a little bit of more, I won't say strict, but things that need to be adhered to for those finished objects to count. But again, it's pretty easy. So I hope you will look into that. And I will talk a little bit more about the make along later on in the episode, when I'm also going to announce the final prize winners for last year's make along, which was the project pool make along. So that is all coming up. I think that's it. We're going to get into the podcast. I'm going to do things a little differently this year because this episode, I chose not to do like a 2024 wrap-up video this year. I just wasn't really feeling it. So I'm kind of just lumping that into this episode. A sip of coffee. I have a tickly throat and I'm really hoping that it does not start up on me with coughing. Anyway, I'm going to start out by just sort of doing a real quick review of my 2024, and I'm doing that because it also feeds into what I want to talk about from my 2025 plans, such as they are at this point. And then I do have some crafting to share with you as well. So we're going to hopefully get through all of that in a timely fashion. But let's look back at my 2024, shall we? I always find it's fun. I like to see what I did. I don't do it quite as detailed as I used to. I used to keep track of all of my yardage and all that. I don't do that anymore. I know it wouldn't be super hard to figure out, but I don't feel the need to do that anymore. Oh, hey, maybe I'll tell you what I'm wearing before I get into that, because otherwise I'll forget. I am wearing my Hero cardigan that I made several years ago. I wear this a lot. It's made out of Let Lopey, super warm, great for days like today, and I feel like I should make something else, both out of Let Lopey and maybe another Hero, because I really love this pattern. Anyway, just wanted to get that in there before I totally forgot about it. All right, so let's look back at 2024, shall we? I made a total of 64 items. Now, I'm saying total with that face because there may very well be things that I did not record or write down, small things that I made or did that just did not warrant recording. So I have 64 recorded items that I did. And that included, I made 15 hats last year. I made 14 pairs of socks, which that actually shocked me. I did not think I made that many pairs of socks last year, but apparently I did, unless I added wrong. I made 6 cowls, 4 of which were crocheted, 3 pairs of mitts, which I'm including that 1 pair of wristers, the side hustle wristers that I made. I don't know why I'm going like this, wristers as opposed to mitts. 2 shawls. I'm including in that one that I did with the random hand spun granny squares that I was originally going to make as a table topper and then chose to make it a rectangle instead of a square. So it's sort of a wrap. I keep it in my office and I do throw it over my shoulders occasionally. So I'm considering it a shawl. 2 blankets. Both of which actually were crocheted. One was my corner to corner blanket that I did over the holidays into January with my A Middle Earth Winter minis, which I love that blanket so much. Those colors just still make me so happy. So that was a big queen size blanket. And the other one was my Granny Square Obsession, which is more of a throw. I finished that up and it's more of a single person kind of blanket. In fact, I just covered up with that last night while I was hanging out in my office as well. So anyway, 2 blankets in 1 year, not shabby. Miscellaneous things I did 4 dishcloths, at least 4, I may have done more, 4 that I have a record of. 4 of my Fluffy Hearts patterns, 6 crocheted wind spinners, if you remember those, and 3 of those random Christmas hats that I showed you last episode for my little pumpkin and Mr. Bill and the cat that turned into the Yule cat. Everybody is hatless now. My pumpkin is still here. He's over there looking just perfect. I think he needs another hat though. I may have to make him another hat. What else? Okay, weaving. I wove 4 items. I haven't used them for anything yet. I'm just calling them basically pieces of fabric at this point, but I did finish 4 weaving projects. Hand spun, I did 5 hand spinning. I spun 5, what I would consider 5 projects, 2 of which were like combo spins, so they made use of more than 1 braid of fiber. One of my projects was my Tour de Fleece project, which was 7 classy squid bats that I spun into individual little skeins, and then the other 2 were just single braids that I spun. And then also I finished 1 cross stitch, which was that little Halloween cross stitch that I made for Emma. How that reflects on my project pool list from last year, which I'm not going to go down through all of that, but I did count up, and there were basically 34 things that I did that I had on my list. Now, when I make lists like that, and again, for my list that I'm doing for this year in the make along, like I'm pretty fluid with my lists. Like I put things on, take things off, put other things in. Sometimes I put things on after I've already made them just to keep record of them. And that's very much how my list was last year. But those 34 things that are on there obviously is only about half of what I made in the whole year. But I was really happy with what I ended up making. And that goes into my sort of reflection on last year. I'm happy with what I accomplished. I was looking back at my notes from whenever I sort of reviewed my 2023 making, and in that I had made the comment that I felt like I had definitely made a progression from product knitter to process knitter or maker, not necessarily just knitting. And I'm not sure if it's still the case, but I've definitely transitioned into more of a purposeful maker. And that's definitely where things are going this year. Oh, the other comment I wanted to make about last year's things, a lot of things that I made ended up going into the donations pile. Like I sent off a lot of donated items at the end of last year. I did not complete any garments last year. Part of that was my whole skin issue that I had been having earlier in the winter, and that really put a crimp in my garment making, my sweater making, which is why, like you see, I have like a crew neck on with this because I don't want any part of this Icelandic wool really touching any sensitive parts of my skin. I haven't been having trouble, but I want to keep it that way. I don't know how I feel about garments right now. Obviously, I've got a couple sweaters on the go. I hope to get back to them, but it's not feeling like as big of a push for me. And that also kind of goes into my looking ahead for 2025 things. I'm going pretty slow and small, and with making plans for this year, keeping things rather general, I would say. I want to focus on things that have a useful purpose rather than just making things just to make things. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Sometimes you want to make something because there's a technique you want to try. You don't necessarily want the thing, but you want to play with that technique. I can't rule that out, but it's not necessarily my focus right now. I would really like to focus on things that I need. Like all those hats I made last year, I don't need more hats. And in fact, the one I gave to Bill, a couple I think I made for Emma, a couple were samples for like when I do shows, but the rest were charity, and that was fine. And I do intend to make charity hats this year too, which will give me a chance to play with new patterns and things. Yeah, I'm just like, I look in my sock drawer. I have so many socks. It took me till after Christmas to wear all of my Christmas related socks. I don't need socks. I like making socks, but I don't need them, and I can only give away so many pairs of socks to people. So I'm trying to just be a little bit more mindful this year in my making. So, and same with sweaters. Like I wear this sweater a lot. I have a couple of other sweaters that I gravitate towards, but I have a lot of sweaters that don't see a lot of wear. So it makes me think, okay, do I really need more sweaters in my life, or do I just want more sweaters in my life? And then I look at all the sweater quantities that I own, and it's like, what am I going to do with you? So we'll see. Sorry, I am looking down at my notes. I just don't want to forget to tell you anything. So I kind of want to branch out this year in my making and not just focus on the same kind of things I always make. And I also want to kind of branch out in what my understanding of creating is, because it does not have to be something I knit or crochet. I mean, creating can take all kinds of forms, right? So my general goals for this year at this point, again, keeping in mind I'm keeping things pretty slow for January as far as forming very specific goals. I know I really want to work more with my hand spun, and I'm going to be showing you some things I've been doing in that regard in a minute. I want to work more with my stash, not just my hand spun stash, but my yarn stash. Matter of fact, I was just in Bill's office. That's where my stash is, my personal stash, in bins. And as he was talking to me about something, my eye was like looking at my one bin, and I could see certain yarns in there that I've had that I really like and I would really like to use. But again, I want it to fit into those parameters of like, is this something useful that I can use? Is it something useful that I can make for someone else? Or is it something that is just going to be another item that I make and then sits in a pile? Like my shawls. I love my shawls that I have. So many of them, though, I don't get a lot of use out of. I need to also be more purposeful in choosing to pull my knitwear out and wear it, like when I go out. You know, this kind of weather is great for wrapping a shawl around you, and yet I tend to be lazy and just either throw a cowl on or just button my jacket up, you know? So anyway, all right. So work with my hand spun, work with stash. Those are general goals. I really want to prioritize cross stitching and spinning and weaving this year. You know, the fact that this loom, my big loom, sits out in the living room all the time and doesn't usually have something on it drives me a little crazy. So I would really like to, you know, get more purposeful with my weaving. And I would also like to see my fiber stash go down with the spinning. I've got so much fiber. And I've made nice dents in it in recent years, especially since I started doing Tour de Fleece again over the last few years, you know, pulling quantities of yarn out that I want, or fiber that I want to work on. So I want to continue that. Let's see, I am making a specific goal of making at least one charity item per month that I can donate at the end of the year. I used to do that. I always enjoyed doing that. I don't know why I got away from doing it, but it's another goal for me this year. And then here's where we veer off of like the fiber art stuff and into other areas of creating. One of my goals last year for the Project Pool Make Along was to make one new recipe a week, like try to make one new recipe a week. I only did 24. Yeah, I did 24. So that's not quite one every 2 weeks. So, but I came away with some recipes that we really like, and I do continue to make them. I want to revive that goal this year. Try again. I especially would like to focus on gluten-free um, gluten-free recipes, because I'm still trying to build my skills of making things gluten-free. Okay. Also, last year I had gardening and houseplants and stuff like that on my list of things I wanted to focus on. That's still there, not quite as in a big way as it was. I think I'm not going to downsize the garden this year, but I think I'm going to kind of pull back how much I plant. We'll see how that goes. My houseplants though are doing really well. That's why my sewing machine is here again, because I used to have this here, and this used to be where I put plants. And then at Christmas time a few years ago, we always have to move this at Christmas time because this is where our Christmas tree goes. And so the sewing machine got moved over towards the entryway of our house, and we just never moved it back because this turned out to be a really good place for me to sit my spinning wheels. But then that forfeited my plant place. But in the meantime, we had a table over on the other side of the fireplace. It's still there, and that ended up being our plant place, which it still is. But ever since I got this huge Christmas cactus last year from my ex-mother-in-law, it could probably take up that whole entire table, to be honest. But it's right now, I've rearranged it so it's got about half the table. Still have some other plants there, but I needed this spot again, especially since we can't put plants out in the porch room, which is actually an excellent place for plants. But at this time of year, they would just freeze because we don't keep it heated out there. So anyway, this is back. I've got some plants on the windowsill propagating from things that broke off, and I feel like I'm doing pretty good, knock on wood, with plants, like house plants lately. So fingers crossed that that continues, because I really love having house plants. What else? Anything else? Oh, journaling. I would really like to get back to a regular journaling practice. I used to journal all the time. In recent years, it's been very hit or miss, very intermittent. I tend to be a journaler more when I'm stressed or when something's really bothering me. That's when I'll write. But I would like to get back more to a regular reflection kind of journaling process. Daily would be great. I know that probably won't happen. I like to journal as a reflection to like using like oracle cards or tarot cards. That's something that I have really found joy in over the past couple years. I'd like to do more of that. So that's something that I have on my list that, again, that goes in with that eye of what is creating, like writing things down. That is a form of creativity for me. And the journaling is also a part of my overall theme for just slowing down. Like, slowing down. I realized so much at the end of last year how burned out I was, and ended up taking the better part of 2 months way off compared to how I usually work. And so I don't want to put myself back in that kind of situation again. I don't want to become so stressed that I just burn out. I feel like that was kind of the culmination of several years, really. So I think journaling can be helpful for that as well. And as I do every year, I always put one of my goals as working on design work. And so far, haven't really done a whole lot of that in the last couple of years. But it is more of a focus for me this year in the slowing down process in other ways. So I'm using January as a month to just sort of make a list of, because I've got a lot of patterns that I've started and never finished and never sent for testing or tech editing or anything. So I want to list the ones that I know are viable and work from there. So that's my January goal. Again, starting slow, but that's okay. Got to start somewhere, right? So anyway, that's pretty much it. And my final aspect to all of this is I do plan to like purposely reevaluate my goals at the beginning of every month. See what I did the prior month and then see where it's, you know, where I think things should go within the next month. I think taking it month by month is much more manageable for me than sitting here in January saying, this is what I'm going to do in the next 12 months, because I know I will not stick with it. I know myself that well, and I can be honest about that. So anyway, that's pretty much what I've got for you as far as my look back at 2024, my look ahead at 2025, and I'm feeling pretty good about that. How are you doing? Are you making plans? Are you taking part in the Choose Your Own Adventure make along as part of your planning? Because this is pretty much, I copied all of those things that I just told you about my 2025 plans from my list that I have in the planning group. That is my general making plan. The only thing it doesn't include is business stuff, you know, dyeing. I mean, I guess the designing could be considered as part of my business too, but yeah, the only thing I don't have on there is dyeing, because that's kind of a separate entity. I know that's going to happen. So anyway, I'd love to hear what your plans are, or how you're taking this coming year. Like, are you slowing down? Are you really ramping up for something? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear. Okay, so we are now going to get into crafting, and I have some finished things to show you. The first thing we're going to start with is spinning, because when I talked to you last, I was super close to, what did I do? Had I plied yet? I don't think I did. No, I did not. I had not started the plying. I did finish the singles of my the Mystery of Color Holiday Countdown set. I finished the day that I recorded. As I said, I was going to work on it while I edited the podcast, and that's what I did. So I did get the singles finished before the end of 2024, which was sort of my goal since I didn't get it finished by Christmas. But then I spent the first few days of 2025 working on the plying, and I finished. So here's my yarn. This was the first half, days 1 through 12, and then this is the second half, days 13 through 24, with a tiny bit of day 1 intermingled in there with day 24. I did it that way just in case I decided to make something where it would loop around from day 1 to 24, you know, like a circular thing. Kind of don't think that's what it's going to end up being, but whatever. So I ended up chain plying this. I had the BFL set that I kept for myself, and I, how did I do this? I split, I think I talked about this before, but basically I split each day into 4 segments, and then I alternated them so that they were constantly overlapping with whichever segment came next. So that's how I spun my singles, and then I chain plied. So it's basically a self-striping yarn. I have not soaked this yet, but estimating my finished yardage here minus 10%, which is basically what I lose in yardage after I've, you know, soaked my yarn and let it dry. I've got a little over 600 yards, I think like 623-ish yards maybe. This worked out to be 255 grams, maybe. Did I write that down? I don't remember. Yeah, 255 grams. So it's about a DK weight, which is what I figured I would get. And I'm really happy with it. These colors just make me so happy. Anyway, so there you go. My finished spinning, my first finished spinning of 2025. And yeah, I'm very happy with it. So I have not put anything else on the wheel yet. I do still have that pumpkin colored BFL project that I had started way back last summer. Well, technically I had started apparently years ago because I found bobbins of it that were already started. I haven't gone back to that yet. I probably will work on that next. I haven't started spinning anything else yet. So anyway, that was my first FO for the year. Next is I started and finished a plant mat to go on top of this sewing machine here. You can see there's a little crocheted mat here. There's actually 2. You can't see the one in the back. I did those several years ago, specifically for the sides of the sewing machine, because we used to have plants sitting there too. they're really kind of wonky and they're pretty dirty at this point, but I wanted to make one that would go over the whole thing. So this will go over the whole top of this. This is a little bit difficult because this part's raised, so it needs to go up and over. So I had to make it long enough for that. And I made this out of just random bits of hand spun. I've got this basket here, okay, which is, it was heaping when I first started this. So there's what I've got left in there. And this was all just small bits of hand spun, mostly like what you have at the end of your one bobbin, like your odd bobbin. I tend to just like usually chain ply that. And I end up with like a little, you know, a little boop of a skein. And so I had a lot of that in there. Matter of fact, I think that's probably what I used for those that are sitting on this table already. But I wanted to use that to make this, and so that's what I did. I did not follow a pattern. I made a chain. I think it was 50 chains up the center. You can see it. It's really kind of interesting because it's like it's got a spine there. So I chained 50, and this was just me guesstimating how long to do that so that I could build out and get something the right size for this sewing machine. I chained 50, and then I started working into the chain, doing, you know, the granny clusters of 3. I can't see the chain. Oh, here it is. Okay. So I started here, granny clusters of 3, skip 2 stitches, granny clusters of 3 all into 1 stitch, and so on. The same way you do granny stuff, right? When I got to the first end, I did 3, and then I chained 3, and then 3 more into that stitch, chained 3, and then 3 more into that stitch. So I've got my end here that builds, it's going to build out those corners. And then I picked up again in the same stitch that I did on the other side and did those granny clusters the rest of the way down. And when I got to this end, I did that same thing in the end stitch because this was what was there. So I did a cluster here, chained 3, a cluster, chained 3, and then connected it to my very first cluster. So, and then I just kept working around and building it out. And so here you go. It's very colorful. I have not soaked it yet. I probably don't need to for this, but I'm going to just to kind of smooth it out, I think, and get it more laying a little bit better. It's a little wibbly wobbly in places just because the yarn weights were not the same in all of those. I would say everything was probably between a DK weight and an Aran weight that I used. It worked out fine, but yeah, it just needs a little bit of smoothing, so I will soak it out. Anyway, I had so much fun making that that I'm like, you know where this is going, right? I need to make another one. So I do have another one underway, which is actually still attached to the ball here. So this is what I've got so far. Again, I started it the exact same way. I think I chained 50. I may have only done 45 this time for some reason. I don't remember. This one, I'm just going to keep going until I have used up all the rest of this, except that white skein in there. That is hand spun. I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly what it is, but I probably will not use the white unless I dye it. I don't know. That's actually probably not going to be enough hand spun to finish this the size I want, because I would like this to be big enough to go on that table that I talked about that's over there. So I may have to go back into my hand spun stash and see if I have any other small quantities that I have not pulled out. But this is very pleasing to me to make this. It's very relaxing. I love doing the granny stitch. Like I could not bring myself to start making granny squares again. Just needed to not do that. So this seemed like a really good compromise, and I'm enjoying it. I'm using an eye hook. Here's my hook. Here's my eye hook. I don't usually crochet with a hook this big, but again, this yarn varied so much in how thick it was, and there were actually, in this one that I'm working on now, some of them were very thin, and so I've been winding them into center pool balls just by hand because they're small, and holding them double, like from the inside and the outside, and that's worked really well. So yeah, having a good time with that. And then I asked Emma, hey, do you have any place in your house that needs random crocheted mats? Because I'm on a roll here and I would like to keep doing this. And I may move on from using hand spun and start using my vat of leftover like superwash DK. Although I also have other non-superwash yarns leftover. So many leftovers. And you know what? When I talk about using stash, yes, I want to use new skeins of stash, but honestly, it brings me so much joy to use up leftovers. I love using up leftovers. Makes me so happy. Okay, so those are my crochet projects that I started this year. Let's see what else. Oh, I did start a knitting project as well. And it's in this really cute bag. This is an Adorn It bag. And I started my first charity hat. So this is my January charity hat, and it also is being worked out of leftovers. And these are all my Mountain Tweed Merino DK. So I've got 5 different colors here. I started with 4 and then I decided to add in a 5th one just because I like the number 5. Or I like odd numbers for things like that. So I added in this green, which if I would have pre-thought it, I would have put that green like probably between the purple and the orange instead of having it right next to red, because that always seems Christmas to me, which was not what I was going for. Anyway, again, no pattern. I just cast on 100 stitches. I did a 2x2 rib for, I don't know, a little over 2 inches. And then went into stripes. And then when I decided to add the green, I'm like, hey, let's do something different with the green. So the green, I have done like this little slip stitch sort of mosaic-y thing going on there. Slip 2, knit 2, and then did that again at the top. I thought about doing the whole body of the hat that way, and then I thought, no, I'm just going to do it occasionally. So I did it with that green stripe, and now I'm doing it up here with the red stripe. So, and I think after I get done with the red stripe and go back into green, I'll start doing the decreases because it's pretty much tall enough, but it's fun. So what do we got? Vivid Violet, Ember, one of my grays. I'm not actually sure which gray that is. Deep Red. Nope, that's not Deep Red. This is Habanero. It's my more orangey red, and Bronze. So those are the colors, but yep, enjoying that. I love making hats. I'm so glad hats are a good charity item, like a donation item, because I love making hats. And again, this was all yarn out of my leftovers bin, my superwash DK leftovers bin, which honestly isn't as full as it used to be. I think what did I do last year? I did something last year that I used a lot of it. Anyway, again, makes me really happy. Sorry, my hair is like doing all kinds of flippy stuff here. That is everything that I've worked on this year, which it's only day 9 of this year, right? So when I say everything. All right. Oh, and I have not worked on my cross stitch anymore. However, hang on, let me grab something. Oh my gosh, my hair is like, and it's staticky, so that's not helping. Anyway, okay, so I don't think I've really cross stitched anymore since I showed it to you last. Actually, that's not true. I probably have, but I haven't worked on it in the last few days. Anyway, part of why I haven't worked on it is because it was driving me crazy. My pattern was just not staying put, and I wanted to get one of the pattern keepers, so I ordered one from Hobbii. I don't know how that's pronounced. But yeah, I think it was on sale when I ordered it. Anyway, it's nice. It's one of those magnetic board things. So it opens up. This does snap to hold it so that it can sit on the table and stand up for you. And then, you know, these are magnets. So you can put your pattern here, magnet it down, and then use this one to like help you see what row you're on. Somewhere, unless I gave it back to my mom at some point, somewhere I think I have just an old version of one of these, like very, very old, because it was originally my mom's. It's just a metal board that had magnets with it. I know I used that at one point quite a while ago for cross stitching. I may have given that back to her because I haven't seen it in a long time. But I thought this would be a really good investment because I do want to do cross stitch this year. And this side it's got like this flap with a magnetic snap. I'm not real sure what the magnetic snap is supposed to do because it does not stay snapped super well, but I guess it's places where you can put other pattern items. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'll use that for, but anyway, I'm glad to have this, and I did buy another set of magnets that they had in their shop. These are Knit Pro, just because I think it'll be helpful to have extra magnets at times. So when I do get back to my cross stitch, I will at least have a way to hold it better than I do right now. So there is that. All right, let's get into make along stuff. So first of all, we're going to do the Project Pool make along winners for November and December. And let me show you what your prize options are. I decided to go with semi-solids because I feel like, again, hats, super good color or super good yarn just to do, you know, a quick hat. So 3 of the skeins are DK weight, and these are my Mountain Tweed Merino DK, the same yarn I'm using for that hat. So we've got 1 in light cherry, there's 1 in vivid violet, and 1 in light Atlantic blue. So those are 3 DK weight options. And then I also have 2 fingering weight options if you're more of a fingering weight kind of semi-solid person. These are in my confetti tweed merino fingering, so they're the ones with the little colorful naps. There's a skein of medium warm honey, and this is also light Atlantic blue. So those are your 5 options. I've got 3 winners, 5 options. So hopefully everybody can get something that they like. I'm going to announce the winners now. If you are one of them, as always, please email me, lisa@fibernymphdyeworks.com. Let me know, A, that you know you won, B, what your mailing information is, and send me your top 3 yarn choices for your prize, and I will get out the one that is available at closest to the top of your list. All right. So our final chatter winner for the year, there were chatter posts 2808 through 3173 for November and December. Random number generator chose post number 2920, who is Sarah, Katsq, Katsq. Sarah, I never know how to say your Ravelry name, but congratulations. She had posted a picture of her Pinecone Project socks in that chatter post, so they were very cool. Congratulations, Sarah. All right, our finished object winner, we had posts number 493 through 605 for the finished objects in November and December, and random number generator chose post number 535, who is Pepper RN, and that is Pam, and she posted her Halloween socks, so congratulations, Pam. And lastly, we had Instagram. I'm not going to go into my Instagram rant. There were 202 hashtagged pictures on Instagram with last year's make-alongs hashtag. So I'm going to assume that was all of them from 2024. And so random number generator between 1 and 202 chose picture number 130 or post number 130. So I counted down the way I was seeing them, and that turned out to be a post by Sunnyside Knitter, who is Laura Lee, and she had posted a picture of a hat for a gnome that she was working on. So congratulations, Laura Lee. Thank you to everybody who participated in the make-along last year. It was a lot of fun. I always love, I say this all the time, I love the community that our make-alongs foster and build, and I look forward to having that happen again this year with this year's make along. But if you are one of those 3 winners, please be sure to email me. Let me know which prize you would like. Give me your top 3 in case one's already picked. But I'll get that out to you so you can start some making, and that also gives you a skein that you can use for your for the Fiber Nymph Dye Works aspect of this year's make along if you choose to take part in that. So anyway, as for this year's make-along, again, that is underway. I talked a lot about it at the beginning of the podcast, so I probably won't go into too many details. I will once again link, wherever it shows up, the video that I did introducing that make-along. Again, it's meant to be very low stress, very open to whatever you want it to be. The fibernymphdyeworks component of it is the only one that has a little bit more structure, especially if you're trying to earn the end of the year prize by using 800 grams or more of fibernymphdyeworks yarn throughout the year. So just go to the finished object thread. I did put that up the other day. That is only for the fibernymphdyeworks finished objects. All the other finished objects are going in the main thread, and you can double post. You can post your fibernymphdyeworks finished objects in the main thread as well. But the fibernymphdyeworks thread specifically has those guidelines for that part of the make along. So check that out. If you have any questions, you can leave a comment in the main thread or email me. I'd be happy to help you out. I think that's it. We're going to just talk about life real quick. The beginning of our new year has been pretty quiet. I'll take it. Been quite snowy, lots of snow. We've had lots of fires in the fireplace. It's been quite lovely, actually. I've been easing back into work. I have not yet been in the dye studio. That is tomorrow. I have a bunch of stuff I know I need to dye, but I have a lot of stuff going on right now. And again, I'm trying to keep it slow and manageable rather than stressing out about it. So, what else? Hey guys, this is Editing Lisa. I decided I am going to cut out the last part of what I recorded because number one, I went on for a really, really long time about what I was talking about, and also probably shared a lot more detail than anybody on here needs to hear. Plus probably that I didn't, like details I didn't really probably need to share or shouldn't have shared because it's not really my story to share. Anyway, in summary, I was basically just saying that I'm sort of in limbo right now because I am going to have to make a trip down to Florida, which I was planning to do anyway in the next couple of months, but it has a little bit more urgency because my mom is going to have surgery. She had a medical event happen right after New Year's, and she's fine right now. She's doing okay, but it was actually something that we knew was probably going to be coming in the next couple of years anyway, but because of the episode she had, it's going to happen a little sooner rather than later. So we are just waiting because there's a lot of, preparatory stuff that has to happen before these kind of things. And so I'm kind of on hold. I'm on hold waiting to hear from her to let me know when she'll be scheduled. And so I will have to, get a plane ticket and fly down to Florida whenever that is. So that's kind of informing a little bit of me keeping my own scheduling a little bit loose for the time being, just because I don't want to be committed to a lot of, a ton of work that I'm going to have to suddenly drop and go. So anyway, just, something to keep the new year exciting. Anyway, I just wanted to share that because I am cutting out a big chunk of what I had recorded, but that's the gist of it. And yeah, so back to the rest of the video. I'm gonna go because I know my husband's gonna be out here shortly to have some lunch and go out and plow some snow, and I'm gonna get this podcast edited and up to you guys. So again, I hope you're having a really good start to your new year. I would love to hear what's going on. Love to hear what you're working on. Please take part in the make-along if you would like to. Or if you're not a make-along person, just maybe follow along in spirit with us. But if you're planning to do anything new and exciting this year, I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to hear about people's plans. So anyway, that's it. I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.